Call these segments World Class Arizona. Here's an example of why. SRP, world-class organization. President of SRP, David Rousseau, world-class guy, even before he became the chairman of the Super Bowl host committee. And you know, there's something going on with the activities of this committee and so many people involved with the Super Bowl itself. And that is, let me see, what do you call it? The CEO Forum. And when I was reading about it, I thought, okay, so it seems to me like the reason you've had these forums and these gatherings of executives is in order to establish the fact that it's not just a championship game that we have on February the 1st, but that this is a championship city.
Absolutely. I think for the amount of effort that goes into raising the $30 million, everybody associated with this effort wants to have something to show for it long after the game. And in our case, something that's unique to the Arizona market around Super Bowls is using it as an economic development attraction. So we raised the $30 million, but then that gives us the opportunity, because the Super Bowl's here, to intersect CEOs of companies, some that are targeted to do business here, and frankly some that have multinational enterprises that are already embedded in our business community. But to have those CEOs here, it creates that opportunity for us to basically put on some programming that will reinforce that Arizona is really world class.
Well, let's talk about the specific goals of the forum.
So the specific goal is to attract about 50 CEOs from all over the world that are in those kind of two buckets, that are some of the most well-known CEOs, and then CEOs of companies that are looking to expand or locate a business here in Arizona that our various economic development partners like Arizona Commerce Authority or GPEC are already in conversations with.
And those are your partners in an effort to attract these businesses?
Yeah, so we have a list of corporate sponsors, from University of Phoenix Apollo Group to First Solar, National Bank of Arizona, Avnet on the Arizona corporate partner side, and then we have the economic development community that is being led by the Arizona Commerce Authority to coordinate this programming. And then we're partnering with the McCain Institute to do some really world-class programming and panelists that would be very recognizable and will frankly serve as the attraction to get CEOs to come in early for the game. And we think if we can turn their heads, it bodes well for that other economic development solicitation that's already happening.
It's a nice idea to show off the hometown, as long as you've got not just the ball game, but all of the other attractions and all of the other things that are going on through that entire period of time that leads up to the game. But they've been attracted to other towns in the past, and every time there's a Super Bowl, probably somebody like you, David, says, hey, come on over and bring your business.
Yeah, from no doubt, I think our experience is the CEO intention from an economic development standpoint is something that's unique to Arizona. It was started here in 2008. We had a great success story coming out of that effort, which is Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong, who came over here on the strength of the invitation to join us for the Super Bowl, and subsequently founded, after acquiring Watson Chemical, founded Abraxas, sold that to Celgene, and today is the richest doctor in the world and is a partner with Phoenix Children's Hospital back in our community. And so he's participating in our CEO panel and has actually joined our host committee and helping us raise money. And so we think it's a great example, and we look forward to reporting those similar types of successes coming out of this year's game.
And by the way, if that story seems familiar, you may have been introduced to the doctor, as was I, on 60 Minutes recently. What a remarkable story. And you're saying that came out of the gathering, the CEO forum that started in 2008?
Yeah, so he was on the what at the time was compared to what we've done this time, which is just to build on their success. But in their initial stages, they invited a handful of people who had been looking at this market. Dr. Patrick, because of his Watson Chemical interest, came over, ended up liking what he saw here from a political, business climate landscape perspective, I think. And then has stayed. And those, the Phoenix Children's Hospital partnership is just an example of what can come after that. And we think if anybody that did see him on 60 Minutes can see that he ultimately is focused on trying to come up with a cure for cancer. And so for that to happen here, I think it would have happened regardless, knowing Dr. Patrick, but it has its fingerprints in Arizona, and we're very excited about that. And again, wanting to build on that success for this time.
Well, and you have mentioned, David, that besides organizations like the Greater Phoenix Economic Council and groups like that, that there are private corporations too that are really cooperating in this. Some of them might, in fact, be concerned that you're bringing competition in.
Well, I think it's sort of, all boats rise, and I think one of the goals in economic development circles is to raise the specter of employers that locate here. That forces the universities to kind of up their game and produce higher caliber graduates with more engineering degrees, as an example, more computer science graduates, and what you have is then a stimulated economy that's going to be better for everybody, and all of a sudden it makes it easier when you're passing the hat for whether it's healthcare or education. You've got a greater critical mass of corporate partners that reside here, and so I think that's everybody's goal. How do you get there? We think this is a stage like no other for about 30 days running up to February 1st.
But fantasize with me for just a moment, because we're talking primarily about the Super Bowl and the Super Bowl week and the entire period of time on the calendar.
Sure.
That leads up to this as an attraction for businesses, and that does benefit everyone, as you said. But fantasize with me about an ideal expectation that would come out of Super Bowl 49, our third one.
So an ideal outcome would be for our economic development partners to be able to announce 30 days after the Super Bowl that there's a half a dozen locations that have been spawned by the ultimate entertainment and hosting associated with their CEO. So internal in those respective organizations who've been getting pitched by economic development interests here, we then push them over the top by the world-class programming that we and the McCain Institute expose them to during those couple days leading up to the Super Bowl.
What do you show these CEOs? I mean, for years and years and years, I've really had a difficult time understanding why it is that everybody doesn't move their business here. And yet sometimes I think we are so sensitive about some of the negatives in our society, the things that come up in every state, in every community, that we emphasize those. What do you say to those CEOs that will make them erase the negatives that they may have had from the press in their town and look at us differently?
Well, I think the proof is in the pudding. We have Visit Mexico as one of our sponsors in downtown Phoenix to, frankly, blunt the perception around our relationship with our southern border, and we really want to cast that in a very positive light. One of the panels that the McCain Institute will take up with our CEO program is the 20-year anniversary of NAFTA, and what does the next 20 years look like, and where are there opportunities to expand Arizona business with our largest trading partner.
Don't you think it's about time that we learn to strut? Just a little swagger wouldn't hurt when it comes to the image that Arizona has sometimes in the eastern newspapers.
Well, I don't think there's any question. We want to capture this opportunity. We've talked to Governor-elect Ducey about wanting to make sure that he takes full advantage, and he's indicated a lot of enthusiasm and energy for making sure that we tell the best story possible along with our business community while we've got the world stage. And I think we're certainly going to have the opportunity and beyond the camera, and we're coordinating that message to make sure we take full advantage of it.
So much more than sports, so much more than a football game. Yeah, the things that are going on across the valley for entertainment and excitement, but what about the things that will continue to go on year after year, decade after decade? It may be as a result of the CEO Forum. It's World Class Arizona.